The pair took questions from a panel of undecided voters, and while they traded barbs on boat turnbacks, aged care and the economy, they also found common ground on some of the nation's biggest reforms, even as they clashed over how they paid for it. But it came to an acrimonious end as talk turned to China's new security deal with Solomon Islands, with Scott Morrison accusing Anthony Albanese of siding with China, a claim the opposition leader labelled an outrageous slur. Well, watching it all was political reporter Steph Boris, who is in Brisbane, not too far away from me. Good morning to you, Steph. You were there. What did you make of it all?
Good morning, Lisa. Well, the Gabba, of course, is used to hosting AFL and cricket sporting events. This was an event of a different kind of political debate, the first for this election campaign. 100 undecided voters in a function room getting to ask questions of both the opposition leader and the Prime Minister. Now, there wasn't too much argy-bargy. One could say it was calmer than the press conferences we've been attending over the past week or so. Taking a look at the questions that were asked last night to the leaders, there were ones on housing affordability, aged care, small business support, the Integrity Commission, and also one on the NDIS. There was a mother called Catherine. She's got a 4-year-old son who has autism, and she was outlining how her son's funding from the NDIS has been cut, questioning whether the government will, ensure that the NDIS is fully funded. Both leaders insisting it's an important policy and one that will continue to be in place. But some within Labor have criticised Mr Morrison's response, because at one stage he did say that Jenny and I have been blessed. We have 2 children that haven't had to go through that, referring to children with a disability.
So, Steph, talk to us about the most notable moments of the night, and that certainly was one, and we'll be discussing it throughout the program as well. But what were some of the other notable moments?
Yeah, well, interesting to note the 2 moments that really revved the leaders up were actually questions from the moderator and not from the general public. The first one being on boat turnbacks. It's the one and only time during the debate where we saw one of the leaders essentially take over, that being Prime Minister Scott Morrison. He started questioning the opposition leader Anthony Albanese over their boat turnback policy. Take a listen.
So why did you not support turnbacks?
I was on the National Security Committee. We had established offshore processing just in 2013 when I became Deputy Prime Minister. That was the first step. That was the first step.
So you were going to do turnbacks?
No, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I just wanted to be clear.
But why is it, Scott, that you're always looking for a division, not looking for an
I'm just
agreement.
looking for the accuracy and the truth.
Mr Albanese later on in the debate, though, Lisa, going on to say that boat turnback is a good policy and Labor has adopted it. And we have heard a conversation around boats over the past 2 weeks of this election campaign, and that's why the Prime Minister was pressing the opposition leader further on that. The other issue where we saw the leaders get a little bit revved up was over national security when it comes to the Solomon Islands. Yesterday, that announcement that China and the Solomon Islands have agreed to a new security agreement. Labor last night accusing the government of not handling the situation properly.
But what this shows is that China has changed in the last 5 years, in particular. And we've had to significantly increase our investment in our intelligence services, our defence forces. And it's a very important issue, Kieran, and you've raised it. It's a very important issue, and I'm sure the Labor Party would agree. But what I don't understand is that when something of this significance takes place, why would you take China's side?
Well, that's an outrageous slur from the Prime Minister, and it shouldn't be. National security issues shouldn't be the subject of that sort of slur.
So how was the debate received, Steph, by those that were in the room?
Well, it wasn't like a sporting event you'd usually go to at the Gabba, Lisa. Very reserved. There was no cheering, there was no booing, but voters were asked to essentially vote on their way out as to who they would now back, having heard that debate. And 40% said Labor, 35% Liberal, and a quarter still undecided. Keep in mind, this is just 100 people, but it gives you a little bit of a snapshot about what people are thinking about. And I do think it's interesting, the questions asked last night were really around issues that affect people on a day-to-day basis, including, for example, cost of living. We asked a couple of the voters on the way out what they thought of the event. Take a listen.
We actually had to vote as we left, and I think Anthony did a better job than...
I thought they both spoke very well, but at the end of the day, it's the same BS that they both give.
Yeah, I thought Scott Morrison was very clear. Felt the opposition leader made a lot of high-level statements and actually answered a lot of questions with questions.
Still undecided.
Still on the fence.
Now, Lisa, as you said, I'm here in Brisbane. It's the first time the Prime Minister has actually travelled to Queensland this election campaign, meaning the only place he hasn't been to since calling the election is the Northern Territory. He's setting a cracking pace. On the other side, opposition leader Anthony Albanese is leaving Queensland today after spending a number of days here.
All right, you've got a busy day ahead of you. Steph Boris, thank you.